Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, a colleague on the House Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Kelly.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentlelady. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of H.R. 2575. You know, sometimes you have to figure out, first of all, where did you come from to find out where you got. I was trying to understand where the 40-hour work week, where could it possibly have started? How did we come to accept that? And for 70-some years, that's full-time employment, 40 hours. And I found out it was actually the product of the Depression. When they did the Fair Labor Standards Act, they said we need to have a measure so it will be a 44-hour, part of the New Deal, by the way. In 1940, they changed it to 40 hours a week was full-time employment. Then all of a sudden, Obamacare comes along, and the New Deal has been replaced by a bad deal. We told people, no, it's not 40, it's 30 hours. That's what full-time employment is. Now, when you go back to 1937 and 40, what were they trying to do? They were trying to get America back to work. It was after the Great Depression. So it was about getting folks back to work. Now you fast forward to today, and it's not about getting people back to work. It's about getting Obamacare to work. This makes absolutely no sense. And who has it hurt the most? It has hurt low-income and middle-income people. 2.6 million folks have been affected by either losing their job or losing hours. So you got to scratch your head and say, wait a minute, if we're really trying to get America back to work, why would we take their hours from them? Why would we slash their work week by 25% and think it's going to work? It has nothing to do with not working people. It has to do with making Obamacare work. Well, I got to tell you, 2575, we had the New Deal that got replaced with a bad deal. And now we have 2575. You know what it is? This is a good deal. This is a good deal. And I don't think how I would look at this with 435 members, any one of us could say that this just doesn't make sense right now for the folks that we represent. Why would we do this to them? Why would we take their work hours away? Why would we put in jeopardy 2.6 million people just in an effort to make Obamacare work? If it's about making it easier for Americans to work, then it's high time we start to turn the tide. It's time we look at what's going on and we say to ourselves, if it worked before, why can't it work again? Why can't we go back to 40 hours? Why can't we make it easier for American families to get through the hard times that they're going through right now?
Gentleman's time has expired.
And I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back. Mr. Speaker, we've had an interesting conversation today. We've talked about the 40-hour work week and what was established back in the 30s under the New Deal. How it switched then under Obamacare to a bad deal. 30 hours is considered now full-time employment. Now we talk about Mr. Young's bill, H.R. 2575, that will be a good deal for American workers. Actually gives them back those 25% of the hours that they were going to lose each week. Now we can play ring around the rosy with this and talk about who doesn't like whom and how these terrible, terrible business owners don't go to church. They don't have a heart. They don't seem to worship anywhere. But they want to make sure that they take advantage of their very associates with whom they have a close relationship. I can just tell you, after being in business my entire life, I'm the son of a parts picker from a General Motors warehouse, a guy who worked his fingers to the bone to have something. I got to tell you, it's really important, though, sometimes to step out of this room and go out into the marketplace and sit down with people who actually sit across the desk from somebody and hire them. There is no greater thrill for an employer than to be able to tell somebody, you know what, we're going to bring you on our team. You're going to be able to work with us. You're going to have wages that can support your family. Plan for the future. Do things that you never thought you were going to do. And you can do that because of a job. And then suddenly, because the numbers just weren't working for Obamacare, and as the President says all too often, it's just the arithmetic, we're going to do something that makes it work for us. Not for you, but for us. We're going to make full-time employment 30 hours. We are going to take 25% of your work week away from you, and we're going to say it's 30 hours now. And now we say to these people who have a great association and a great relationship with the people they work with every day, because the success of the business is also the success of the employee. We are these people and making them enemies in the marketplace. You don't need to do that. But only in this great house and only in this great town and only in a place that's so out of touch with everyday America can we stand up and make these statements and think that they stick. 2.6 million people are affected by this in a very negative way. They're going to lose jobs and they are going to lose hours. It's not the fault of the employer because he's trying to make his model work. It's the fault of a government who works at such great deficits that people can't even begin to understand what it is. And my little 9-year-old grandson says to me all the time when he looks at these things, "Grandpa, it just doesn't make sense. A child can get it, but we can't get it." And in a time when we need to be more united than ever as a country, as we make our way back through a very tough time, we need to stand together on these things. What I've heard since I've got here is you guys just don't like this Affordable Care Act. Help us make it work. So we say, why don't we give people full-time employment 40 hours again? That's not the kind of help we want. That doesn't fit our narrative. Don't you get it? So we stand here today and we have this debate. I told you how the New Deal got replaced by the bad deal, and I also told you how this bad deal is going to get replaced by a good deal, by Mr. Young, H.R. 2575. That is going to help get America back to work. Honestly, if that's not why we're here today, if that's not what our main purpose is, why are we here? What are we doing? Why do we continue to spin this so much that just hardly any American can walk straight anymore because they get spun every day by a message from Washington? We continue to do it, and we continue to thump our chest and say, we did good. We did really good. The lowest labor rate participation in 35 years. In a country that has been so blessed by our Creator that the rest of the world looks at us and says, what in the world are you doing? What is holding you back? You have every asset you could possibly want. You have great workers. You have great energy sources. We have sources of energy that would last for several decades, several centuries. What am I talking about? Several centuries. Great abundance in affordable and accessible energy. But we hold back on it. We have assets that make sense to everybody in the world but us. We have 1/5 of the world's fresh water sitting right in our Great Lakes. And our production per acre exceeds anybody's wildest dreams. We can have energy independence, we can feed ourselves, and we have drinking water. Everybody else in the world wants to have it. We just asked the gentleman and the rest of the Congress, listen, there's 435 of us. If it's really about getting people back to work, let's do things that make sense. Let's not beat around the bush about some type of an ideological debate over what we're trying to do to each other. 40 hours a week, we're always considered full-time employment. It's just that simple. It's not hard to figure out. And I can tell you as an employer, having to let somebody go is the worst feeling you can ever have. And I do go to Mass every day. And I do pray about it every night. And I do pray about the future of this country. And to suggest that anybody, any of the great employers we have and the job creators we have around this country are somehow godless, heartless people who don't have feelings is absolutely absurd. And it's what continues to make it hard to come to this house every day and say, you know what, we're going to fix this for America. We're going to get America back to work. We're going to do the right thing every day in every way. No, that just doesn't fly here. Well, we could go on for this for hours, Mr. Speaker. But I would just tell you this. Returning America to a 40-hour work week just makes sense. This is not a hard thing to figure out. If a 9-year-old child can understand it, why can't the Congress of the United States? And if we're truly going to turn this economy around, if we're truly back to work again, let's make sure that we renew that great sense of dependency that we have on each other. Not divide ourselves between those who don't like you and those who do like you. By the way, Senator Cruz's poll, I know that the gentleman referred to several replies that had gone to that poll. There was 57,444 people that actually answered that poll, so I'm sure there was probably some good stuff on there too. But that's not my point. My point is we have an opportunity here in this House, like no other place in the world. When something is wrong, we can fix it. And I have heard from the time I came here, the problem with a lot of these laws that are passed are the unintended consequences. Well, let me tell you, there may be unintended consequences, but there's not uninsured people. There's not people out there that are not feeling the pain. There is a lot of pain out there right now. So the unintended consequences have certainly not been unpainful. And you know the other thing? They're also not unfixable. Do you know we can fix this today? Do you know we can fix this and send it over to the Senate? Do you know we can make people get back to work, make their futures look brighter? You know we can do that in this House of Representatives? So forget about whether you're wearing a blue tie or a red tie. Forget about whether you have an R on your back or a D on your back, and start thinking about who you really represent. Because each of us in our districts represent not just Republicans, not just Democrats, but every single American
Gentleman's time
who lives
has
in that
expired.
district. And I yield back.